So the first concept, that is the positional argument. Okay, I am making a function that a wish which take the two arguments, the name and the message. Now when I call this function wish, okay, this name on 0th position, this message is on first position. By default I am talking about the positional arguments, so this position will be allocated over here into the 0th position. This position is allocated over here into the into the first position. Okay, so this concept is called positional argument. For example, I am making a function def of add and it's taking a 4 parameters. Okay, even it can take 5 as well, that doesn't matter, and returning it a plus b plus c plus d plus e plus f. Okay, so now understand this concept. These are the formal arguments. Okay, formal arguments. When I call this function 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, now on position, okay, on position, this value is on the first position, it is allocated to this. This value on the second position, it is allocated to this. This value on the third position, it is allocated to this. This value on the fourth position, it is allocated to this. This value on the fifth position, this is allocated to this. This is very simple concept. The positional argument, whatever the position that you supply, automatically according to that parameters, according to that arguments, okay, these are assigning to them. On, let's suppose on this position the d is here, on the fourth position the value is 40 there, so 40 is allocated to the d. When I print over here, let's suppose d, then what is happening, it is showing me the output, that is the 40, because I pass this data according to the position and it automatically hold that data according to the position. Very simple concept. These are called the positional arguments. Okay, and number of times we use this concept. Yesterday in all examples we perform this concept. Okay, that is the positional argument. So but make sure, thus repeating the same concept, how many argument that you define over here, you are supposed to pass that much amount of values, otherwise you will get the error message. Keep this point into the mind. Okay, this is the important one. Whatever the parameter that you supplied over here, let's suppose you supply over here 5 parameters, so you are supposed to pass over here the 5 values as well. Okay, so don't get confused, parameter and arguments are same. Okay, parameters and arguments are same. So now the second one is keyword arguments. Okay, keyword arguments. Understand this point. The keyword arguments specify with its name, keyword. Okay, so understand it. Let's suppose I am taking over here def of, making a same program, add a b c d e. Okay, taking 5 values. Now returning me, or I just printing it, or you can say the return. Choice is again here. It's depend upon the problem statement to problem statement. You want to return or you want to print. So it returning me a plus b plus c plus d plus e and somewhere where whenever I will call this function. Now main concept is the keyword arguments. Okay, the keyword arguments. Now how you are supposed to define the keyword argument? We use this concept n number of time. Now you will understand this concept. Okay, let me explain the concept first, then I will come back to this. When we use this hello and we specify one keyword argument, I think you guys keep remember this word, this become the keyword argument. Okay, keyword argument, and this is the positional argument. This value is allocated on the first position because print is a function, that is the predefined function, and I am passing 2 values, one hello and the second one is end. This end is a keyword argument. Okay, because I am specifying my own value over here. Okay, so understand how you can define the keyword arguments. So let's suppose add, I am calling this function, first two values I make as a positional argument. Okay, I make as a positional arguments, rest of I become the keyword arguments. So in the keyword arguments, it doesn't matter the order. Okay, it doesn't matter the order. Keep this point into the mind. Now it doesn't matter the order. Keep this point into the mind. So this one is on first position, allocated over here. This one on second position, allocated over here. Now this E is a keyword argument, it allocated to this E. This D is a keyword argument, this allocated to this. C is a keyword argument, okay, this allocated to this. Okay, in this case the position doesn't matter. Okay, the variable that I assign the value, so this value is allocated to C, okay, to C, to D, okay, to D, E to E. These first 2 arguments become the positional argument. Okay, by default the 10 is allocated to the A and 20 is allocated to the B. That's the point. Keep this point into the mind. Okay, but make sure whenever you are supposed to implement this kind of concept, the positional positional argument should be first, okay, and then there will be the keyword arguments. Otherwise you may face the error, okay, you definitely face the error if you try to do something like this. E is equal to 40, then you are making the positional argument, okay, then you are making the, again the keyword argument. No, it is not acceptable. It is not acceptable. Make sure whenever you are performing such type of scenario, that's mean mixing of keyword arguments as well as positional argument. Keep this point into the mind. Your positional argument should be come first, and then your keyword argument should be there. Okay, keep this point into the mind. So this one is the way, the keyword arguments. Here I define the value to the keyword argument exactly same. The end is equal to this one, this become the positional and this become the keyword argument. Okay, the same thing I implemented over here. Yes, this is the acceptable values. So this concept is called the keyword arguments. Now the next is default. Okay, default. Same, I am taking this example. Print of hello of and is equal to this one. Okay, so this one is the default argument as well. How it is default argument? When I pass it, I am changing the value. When I don't pass it, then automatically end value is this one. But explicitly I am changing the end value. Keep this point into the mind. Explicitly I am changing the end value. By default the end value is /n. If I don't pass it, then end value is /n. If I change the argument, then the end value become this /n to this space that we already discussed in the case of the nested for. Okay, so now understand this concept as well. Def of name, okay, or you can say the def of wish. Okay, wish. Inside wish, the name is a default argument. Okay, by default the value is guessed. By default the value is guessed, and I am printing a message, print hello comma name. That's it. Okay, so let's suppose I call this function. I didn't pass any argument, wish. Okay, wish. I didn't pass any argument. So by default the output would be hello guest. Okay, by default this name contain the guest, but I don't want guest. Okay, I don't want guest. What I can do? Wish of, okay, wish of, let's suppose the name I am passing over here, Ravi. Okay, now you will get output hello Ravi. Okay, another way, simply, because there is only one argument, so you can make it as a positional argument as well. Okay, wish of, let's suppose Raj. Okay, wish of Raj. That's it. Now the output would be hello Raj. So these are the ways. This is the default argument. Whenever there is no value, by default it will take this value. When you change the value, then it will update it with the previous whatever the value that you pass over here. Same in the concept of this one. Print of hello. Okay, print of hello, and I am explicitly changing it. If I don't pass it, automatically this value will be considered as a /n. When I pass something, that value is updated, whatever the value that you pass during the calling of that function. Okay, so this one is called the default arguments. So make sure, again, if you are using the positional arguments, okay, if you are using the positional arguments as well, so default argument always should be end, always should be into the end, otherwise you will get the error message. Okay. So now I am moving, let me show you the practical usage for this, then the picture would be more clear.
Sir, I think recording अभी भी work नहीं कर रही।
नहीं चल रही है जी, रिकॉर्डिंग इज वर्किंग। वो एक्चुअली वो थोड़ा सा उधर है तो नहीं दिख रहा, रिकॉर्डिंग वर्किंग है, डोंट वरी, रिकॉर्डिंग इज वर्किंग। Okay, so I am making showing you the implementation of all the method that we discussed right now. Def of add. Okay, so these are the positional argument, very simple. I am making very simple code so that the picture would be more clear to you. Okay, print of A and print of B. Okay, and let me control C, control V as well. Print of D, print of E, A, B, C, D, E as well. Okay, E as well. C as well. Okay, so I am saving it. While save as, argu type dot py. So I am running it. Okay, so now py space argu type of py. Okay, now I am calling this function. So add of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. So I pass these 5 values. So this value okay, then the picture would be more clear to you. Okay, so I'm saving it, I'm running it. Now you can check. Okay, so A is 10, automatically this become the positional. This value assigned to 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 this. Okay, the position matter in this case, the position matters in this case. Now I am making the sum of the, let's suppose this value is E, okay, and this value is C. So here this value for D. Okay, now observe this scenario. So here first 2 arguments become the positional argument. This value A is allocated over here, B is allocated over here, D allocated to D, E allocated to E, C allocated to C. Okay, so I am saving it. Now I am running it. Now you can check A 10, B 20, C that's a 50 that allocated later. Okay, and D that you can check the 30, and E you can check the 40. Okay, so I am making one more. So now you will get the more clarity. Let's suppose I am making this as a positional argument. Now you will face error. Okay, positional argument follows keyword argument. Okay, so this error that you are going to get. So make sure whenever you are performing this one, your positional argument should come first, then your keyword arguments. If you try to do something like this, definitely you will get the error message. This error, positional argument follow the keyword arguments. Okay, so let me show you one more use case. So let's suppose I didn't pass the 5 arguments as well. Again you get the error message, required 2, missing 2, and you pass only 3 arguments. So keep this point into the mind. Okay, so another one, the next one is the default. Okay, and the keyword arguments. So these are the keyword arguments, as well as A is equal to this one, okay, B is equal to this one. Now these are the keyword arguments, all the arguments are the keyword argument, you will get the error. Now again the default argument. Okay, so let's suppose in the case of the default I pass 50. Now I can pass 4 elements. Okay, now I can pass 4 because automatically this value become the 50. I didn't pass anywhere. When I call this function, I didn't pass the E value. Okay, because E value is already assigned, that is the 50. So keep this point into the mind. If the scenario is something like this, yes, you want some of the default arguments, then you can process it. Okay, these are the default arguments. So here I didn't pass any E value, but automatically the E value is picking out from this particular value. So let's suppose, let me pass this E value as well. Okay, now E value I pass 1000. Now you will check, this value will be override. Okay, this value will be override with 1000. Okay, this value will be override with 1000. Okay, so these are the concept of the positional, default, and keyword arguments. Now the next one is variable length arguments. Okay, variable length argument. Let me write the function for the same. Okay, what exactly meaning of this I will explain you, don't worry. Okay, I'll explain you, don't worry. Okay, so if you're coming from the technical background, if you're coming from the C++ background, there is a concept, that concept is called function overloading. Okay, the function overloading. Don't worry if you are not coming from the technical background, let me explain that concept, then I will come back to this concept. The function overloading means, let's suppose I am defining a function def of add a comma b. Okay, so no, I am not using this, I am using the concept of your C++. Okay, int add of int a, int b, okay, and this one your one function, okay, one function, and again same function, okay, might be the return type can be different or return type can be same, that doesn't matter, okay, add of int a, int b, int c, okay, this one your second function. Again I am making one more function, that is add, and this time it is taking int a, int b, int c and float d, okay, so this much amount of data. So these are my three function. The name of the function is same, okay, the name of the function is same, but the arguments are different, okay, but the arguments are different. So here in this function it take only two values, here in this function it take three values, here in this function it takes the four values. So now the question is which one will be execute, okay, which one will be execute. So in this case when I call the add, okay, I call the add, let's suppose I pass only two values, okay, I pass only two values, so this function will be executed because I call a function, I call that signature which take only two parameters a and b, okay, 10 and 20, which take only two parameters, that is the 10 and 20. So automatically all of these, this one from all of these three, this one will be executed automatically, okay, you don't need to tell anything anywhere to the compiler or interpreter as well, automatically it will be executed because I call this signature, okay. Another way, let's suppose I call this a 10, 20, 30, 40. So how many values I pass? I pass four values, okay, so automatically this will be called, okay, I don't need explicitly tell to the interpreter or the compiler, it will automatically match the signature. If the signature is matched with this one, it will automatically execute it, okay. So this concept is called function overloading in the concept of the C and C++, but here inside Python this concept is not implemented directly, okay, you are not supposed to make another function with add, okay, another function with add, another function with add, no, that is not implemented in the case of the Python. So how I can achieve this concept, okay, how I can achieve this concept? With the help of the variable length argument, okay. So here I pass asterisk sign of a, it is not the concept of the pointer, don't consider it concept with the pointer, because C++ whenever you define the variable something like this, they will be treated as a pointer, but here it is not a pointer, it's the concept of the variable length arguments, okay, variable length arguments. So what is the meaning of this? Now half of the picture you clear, okay. Now when I show the use case of it, you will automatically understand the concept. Add of, okay, I am calling this function add of 10, okay, I am calling this function 10, 20, 30, 40, okay, I call this function 10, 20, 40. Now this time I call again, and this time I am passing this much amount of data, doesn't matter, okay, this much amount of data, that doesn't matter, okay. In the next iteration I pass only two values, okay, 2 and 3, 2, 1 and 3, that's it, okay. Now this concept is called, whenever the function is called, because of this it will automatically execute only for the single value. When I pass this much amount of data, it will automatically consider this values, that's mean it's contain this much amount of data. When I call this and pass this much amount of data, it automatically consider, okay, this much amount of data that I have, okay. Again I call this, again it will be considered this much amount of data I have. So here this is become automatically, this become the tuple, okay. If I show you the type of this one, print of type of, okay, type of this a, now it will consider as a tuple or tuple, whatever you can pronounce, print, okay. So it will, so here I make a very simple logic, s is equal to 0, sum of all the elements, okay, sum of all the elements, whatever the data that I pass, I just make the sum of all the element, and after that I print it, that's it. Very simple logic, that the logic we already did so many times, I simply implement it, but with this concept, with the concept of the variable length argument. Now what exactly the use case of this one? Let's suppose this one is the customer number 1, okay, this one is the customer number 1 who buy only one product, the price is $10. The next customer who buy the 4 product, okay, every product has a different price, the one is $10, $20, $30 and $40. Again the new customer, that is the third customer, he buy this much amount of product with me, okay. Now the function is same, but the parameter lists are different for everyone, Okay, it doesn't mean that if I am dealing with thousands of customers daily, so I am not supposed to write a function 1,000 times. I made a function very simple who will return me whatever the value that I pass, that will return me the sum of all these values. That means this become the bill of that particular person. Okay, so here the bill will be the 40 plus 30 70, 70 plus 20 90, and then $100. Here the bill is $4. Okay, here the bill is $10. Here the bill is, let's suppose, $555, something like this. Okay, so this one is the concept for the variable length. This concept technically called variable length arguments. Okay, if you want to compare with C++, at that time you can consider the concept of the function overloading. Okay, so this one. Now I think we did a mistake somewhere. Invalid syntax, please check. Yeah, we did mistake over here. Okay, so now I am executing it. Now you will observe the output. Here the class is tuple, first time call. I already told you the type will become the tuple and the output is 10. Another case the output is 100. Another case the output is 7691. Another case the output is 4. Okay, so very simple concept and very useful concept. Sometimes it is very useful. Okay, I show you the real time implementation, real time example for the same. Now the next one is the last category, that is the variable length keyword arguments. Okay, variable length keyword arguments. Okay, variable length keyword arguments. Here how I can define this? Very simple, with 2 asterisk sign. Okay, 2 asterisk. Now don't consider it pointer to pointer. Okay, if I comparison with C++, then this concept is called pointer to pointer. Okay, but this point of time it's become a variable length keyword arguments. Okay, so don't get confused. So here now if I don't do anything, okay, I just call this function only one time and I will show the type whatever data that I am passing over here. Okay, name is equal to Ram. Okay, so now you can check automatically, the picture would be clear to you what exactly happening inside this. Now you can observe this. This is called dictionary. Okay, this is called dictionary. So it will treat it as a dictionary. Okay, it will treat it as a earlier it is considering as a tuple, but this point of time it is considering as a dictionary. So here everything that you want to implement with dictionary you can implement it. For example, for I in, okay, for I in a dot items. Okay, and you know what item will return? Item will return you this key and value. Don't ask me the question for this because we already discussed this concept in great detail. Okay, so here I am making a sum variable again. So here what I am doing, I am simply printing it product name. Okay, name, and comma I am printing the k, that is the key. Okay, and control C, control V, product price. I am passing over here the price, that is the V. Okay, the k and V. What I am doing apart from that, s plus equals to I. Okay, and after printing of everything, just I am printing total bill. Okay, total bill, this one. So here total bill, I am making it's a f string. Okay, okay, just pass over here s, that's it. Okay, that's it. I am making very simple. So earlier just take the price. Now this time I am passing, okay, the person buy mobile, the first customer who come to me and buys the mobile. Okay, and the price for the same is, let's suppose, 10,000 rupees. Okay, and another he buy CHAR charger. Okay, the charger and the price for the same is, let's suppose, 350. Okay, second customer who come to me and he buys let's suppose jeans, okay, rupees 1000, and shirt, let's suppose rupees this one. Okay, so jeans price little, okay. So another customer who come to me, okay, who come to me and he buys burger, okay, and cold drink, okay, cold drink, okay. So here that's a 50. Now I am calling it. So understand this point very simply. Now you will get the clarity for this same. Okay, I think I is not defined. Sorry, here the value yeah, there is V. Okay, there is V. So don't worry. Now you can jump. Okay, I think we did a mistake somewhere. Sorry, here the key. Okay, here the key and values. Okay, I don't know why I type S. Okay, so now you can check the product mobile. Okay, the price is 10,000, the product name charger, and the price is this one. Total bill is this one. Okay, product name jeans and the price is this one, the name shirt and the price is this one, total bill is this one. Okay, product name burger and the price is this one, and product name cold drink and the price is this one, total bill is 150. Again you can call the the bill, or you can call the text as well. So I show you the way how you can implement same thing. Here the function name is same, but again the parameters are different. It doesn't mean that you are only supposed to pass only 2 parameters. You can pass even more 3. Don't worry. Okay, shirt, and let's suppose he buys t-shirt as well. Okay, t-shirt as well. So it doesn't mean that you are supposed to pass only for 3 items. Okay, it doesn't mean that. So here this will work fine. Now you can check the t-shirts as well. The price is 340 and the total bill is this one. So this is the way. The function is same, but the list of the customers are different with the different products and different pricing. So it will work for everyone. Okay, so this one is the concept, the types of the argument that we discuss. Okay, any question from your side, please let me know before proceed further. Okay, ask me any question if you want to ask. any
टी-शर्ट वाला कैसे हुआ, कैलकुलेशन कैसे हो रही है?
सर सम कर रहे हैं ना हम. we are just adding the values ना, that's it, nothing else.
उसमें ऐड वैल्यू तो हम केवल v को ऐड कर रहे हैं, k को तो ऐड ही नहीं किया हमने.
So k is a key and v is a value, so this would be treated as a key value pair. This mobile become the key. Okay, this become the value, this become a key, this become a value, this becomes a key, this become a value, and we are sum all the values for this particular thing. Okay, 2000, this much amount, and we are calculating the sum of all these values, because every product have different product ID. Okay, every product have different product ID. So here we'll pass the product ID. Okay, not the product name. Basically in the real time scenario we will pass the product ID, because a mobile can be n number of types, but different types have different mobile have different product ID, and we can calculate, we can call that product ID from particular data set. Okay, so this one is very basics to understand the concept.
When we say product ID, you mean the keyword?
No. Yes, product ID is basically variable, or you can say the key, because every product has a different product ID. Into the real time scenario, if I am selling out the thousands of products, so that's mean I have thousands of product IDs. Okay, let's suppose I am taking the concept of the mobiles. Here the mobiles and number of mobiles are there, so every mobile have a different number, different ID. So simply if you are taking the Apple 4, okay, iPhone 7, okay, iPhone 11, iPhone X, and so on, every product has a different product ID. So if I are talking about the let's suppose the Redmi or even the Samsung, every product has a different product ID. Okay. Okay. नहीं मैं समझा नहीं क्या हो गया.
नहीं आया सर. इसको थोड़ा सा प्रोग्राम को एक बार लाइन बाय लाइन चूज करते हैं. तो हमने डिफाइन किया ये एक फंक्शन ऐड, ठीक है सर. और आपने उसमें ये एक्सप्रेस ए लगाया जिसमें इसका मतलब है कीवर्ड वैल्यू आ रही है.
No, whatever value that I am passing over here, it become the combination. These are the keyword argument basically. Okay, these are the keyword arguments. When I am passing into this with the help of this double asterisk sign of a, it become the key value pair. So now how exactly this is treating here inside a? If I simply print a, okay, so let me simple print a, then the picture would be might be the more clear to you. Okay, so let me print a. So now you will get more clarity. Okay, you will get the more clarity. Now you can check. This become a key value pair. So this one is the dictionary. This one is a dictionary. This become a key. This become a value. This become a key. This become a value. And what I am making a logic, I am sum of all the values. That's it. I am making this logic over here. Okay, now I think the picture is clear or not?
Kind of. I have to try. I'm
Yeah.
sorry for others. Maybe they already understand. Everybody else.
No, don't worry. That's not an issue. This become a key value pair. Okay, it is treating as a key value pair. And but logic I am making, I am iterating the entire process. I am first iterating the mobile and the 1000. So inside key, the first will become the mobile, and inside the value become the 10,000. Okay, and what logic I am making over here, I am summing out all the values that is respective to this dictionary. Okay, this is the one dictionary because this function is called first time, so this become a first dictionary, this become a second dictionary. Okay, this become a third dictionary. Okay, if I call this function only one, then it become only one dictionary, one key value pair. That's it. Now it become only one dictionary. I am calling for second customer because second customer buys something else. Okay, third customer buys something else, fourth customer buys something else. This one is scenario. Okay, because I think you guys are forget the concept of the dictionary as well. Here I use the entirely concept of the dictionary. Okay, okay. The next concept is, I'm showing you the next concept, and that concept is called local and global. Local variables, okay, and global variables. Two types of variables are there. The one is the local and the second one is the global variable. Now what exactly difference between these two? Local mean the locally created variables. Okay, it doesn't, okay, I'll explain you this concept. Let me save as local.py. okay, so understand this concept. What is the meaning of the local and what is the meaning of the global? So here I am making a function f1. Okay, I am making a function f1, and here I am assigning a is equal to 10 and print of a. That's it, very simple. Okay, and I am calling this function f1. So I am saving it. Okay, I am saving it. Now I am running this code. Okay, I am running this code. Okay, so now what you are getting? You are getting 10. Okay, the 10 mean this 10 is a local variable. Keep this point into the mind. This 10 is a local variable because the life of this 10 is only inside this f1 function. By a mistake, understand this point. By a mistake, if I call the function, if I call this variable outside the function, okay, now you can check. If I call this function, this variable outside the function mean after completion of this tab indentation, that I am calling this function outside, not function, I am calling this variable outside the function. Okay, so now this point of time it will say undefined a. It will say undefined a because the life of a is only between this f1 function. Okay, because this life of this a is only inside this f1. When I call this outside this function a, because here a is nothing. A is nothing. Keep this point into the mind. Now I executing it. So you will get the error. So how it get? Let me save first. Okay, let me save.
वो function वाला print हुआ ना?
Now yes, because the previous one. Now you will get out name A is not defined. Why not defined? Because this one is the local. The local mean whose existence, whose life is only inside this function. Okay, because this one is the local variable. Now I am saying the technical definition. This one is a local variable that is present inside the f1 function. When I call this local variable outside the function, then it will give me error, A is not defined. Why so? Because the scope of this A is only inside this f1. So this concept is called local function. Okay, local function. Now understand my scenario next. Now the another concept is called global function. Okay, global function. So what is the meaning of the global? When I define a function, okay, anywhere inside this whole document or whole notepad. So here let's suppose I am defining AA. Okay, so inside this function I can call this AA. Okay, I can call this AA, don't worry. Outside this again I am call this AA, so I won't get error in any of the case. Okay, let me save this, and let me print it. Okay, so here now you can check it out. I didn't get any error, but it should be print 2 times 10 10. Okay, let me save it. Why it's giving only 1? It should be print 2 times. Okay, because yes, I didn't call the function, sorry. Okay, I didn't call the function, sorry. Now you can check. Okay, you can check here with the same names. Okay, so here now you will get the 10 10 10. One time this 10, again this and this. Now understand the next concept. Here the global function is A. Okay, here the global function is A. Now I am assigning different value. Let me add some odd values. Okay, so this one is a different value. Here I am removing it. Okay, here I am calling it. Can anybody tell me what output I will get? Can anyone tell me what output I will get? Okay.
Yeah, you will get sir 10 and 999.
Okay, yes, perfect, good output, good answer. Why so? Because inside Python, keep this point into the mind. Inside Python, it will always, okay, it will always give the priority to the local values first. Okay, it will always give the priority to the local value first. So it means when I call this function, okay, inside this function there is a variable that is also available globally, but it will also give the priority to this local variable, and it is giving me the output, that output present inside the local variable. But when I call this function, okay, this global, not this global, this function global variable, okay, global variable, then it will always give the priority to this one. Okay, I'll always give the priority to this one. So this one is the fundamental thing to understand the concept of the local and the global variables. Keep this point, I am repeating once more time. Okay, let's suppose this A is not available here. Okay, now what output I will get? Because inside local there is no A variable, then it will redirect to this global variable. Okay, it will redirect to this global variable. Let me execute it. Okay, now you will get on the both of the times 999 999. Okay, so this is one way. Now another way, okay, another way, I am making one more function, def of f2. Okay, def of f2. Here I am again printing of A. Okay, here I am printing of A, but here this A is 888. Okay, so when I call this f1, okay, when I call this f1 and I call this f2, now what output I will get? I will get the same. Here in the case of the f2 I will get this global value, in the case of f1 I will get this 888. So my output would be on the screen, that is 888 and 999. Very simple fundamental thing. Okay, now observe my scenario. So inside Python there is a keyword, that keyword is called global. Okay, global is a keyword. Now understand the scenario for the same. So I want to make this as a global. Understand my point. I want to make this as a global. Whenever I call this function, I want this will be treated as a global variable. Okay, whenever I call this function, I want this should be treated as a global variable. Then how I can do it? For the same, global, okay, global, global A. Okay, global A, that's it. With the help of this global keyword, Now when I call this f1 function, what it is making, it is overwriting this a, okay, overwriting this a, because I use the keyword that is the global a. So here a value become 888. Now when I call this f2 function, at that time it will pick out this value, it will pick out this value. Okay, let me show you the output, then the picture will.
इसमें अगर F2 को पहले कॉल करेंगे
सर सब आता हूँ उसी पॉइंट पे आ रहा हूँ, डोंट वरी. ओके, सो नाउ इन द बोथ ऑफ द केसेस दैट you are getting the output 888 and 888. Now I am changing this scenario, understand this point, obvious, common sense, okay, obvious. So now what I am doing, I am calling this f2. In this f2, there I am printing the a. For this point of time inside local there is no print, no, you know, the local variable available, then it will move out onto this, it will move out onto this, and here it will print 999, and after that I call the f1 function. So f1 become global of a, so its value become 888, but already executing it, so here the output would be 999 and 888. Now if I call again, understand this, if I call again, now after calling of f1 function, now this become the global, okay, this become the global. Now when I call again f2, now it will hit for this value, that is the 888, because the session is maintained. Okay, so now you will get the more clarity. Okay, now you will get 999 in the first attempt that I call it, because at that time this function is not executed, and I will get the output, that is the 999. In the second attempt I call this f1 function. When f1 function execute, it make this one as a global. Okay, again I call this f2. For this point of time it is hitting for this value, because this already existing. Okay, the global a I already implemented. Okay, so you are getting this output. This is a very tricky thing, but yes, very useful in some of the cases. I think the picture is clear for everyone, this global and the local. Okay, always inside Python it will hit for the local, whether it's the cases of the classes, or whether it's the cases of the variables, whether it's the cases of the function, it will always hit first inside this, because always the local things have the higher priority. But yes, there are some provisions. This is the provision in the case of the variables, that what you can do, you can make this variable as a global variable. Okay, but it will always look out for the prioritized things. Okay, so I think now the picture is clear. Picture is clear.
इसमें ग्लोबल a जो आपने डिफाइन किया है, क्या इसको हम इस तरीके से कह सकते हैं, ग्लोबल a इक्वल टू 888?
No sir, no, global a is equal to 888. No, a error देगा sir, it will throw the error. Okay, it will throw the error. Let me try it. Now it will throw the error. You are not supposed to implement it. Okay, so there is,
you got to define a variable first. What type
yes,
of variable is that?
yes,
Then
yes,
after we give
yes. Okay, now the question is, sir, I want to use, please mute, I want to use this global variable inside this function. Is there any way? Because by default it is giving me the 888, because it always give the priority to the local variable first. But sir, my question is, I want to use this global value inside this function. Then how I can do it? Okay, very simple. There is different signature for the same. Okay, for this point of time, let me do over here, before making this global a, that I want to implement. Okay, I want to implement, so here I am using this function. Okay, so a is equal to 100. Okay, so print of a. Okay, so what I will do, okay, if I call this f2, it always give me the local variable values first. Okay, local variable, but I want global values as well. Okay, for the same, what I can do, print of, okay, print of globals. Okay, globals of, I can use this a. Okay, so let me try this now you can check. This is the way. If you want to use global values as well, okay, now this will give you the 999. This one is the signature for the same. If you want to implement the global values inside your function, okay, inside your function, where the global variable name same and the local variable name same, because I already told you the priority of the local is higher, but in the some scenarios, in the some situation, that you need the global variables, global values as well into the into the local values, into the local function or the local values as well. So how you can handle this type of situation? With the help of this signature. Here is a keyword, the globals. Okay, this one is the function globals, and here inside this, you know, the braces, you are supposed to pass that variable name. So automatically this value will be appear on the screen. Okay, so this one is the way. Okay, I think the picture is clear to everyone. Now moving ahead, there is one very small topic, that is the recursive function. Okay, recursive function. The meaning of the recursion is a function call itself inside a function. Okay, the function is calling itself inside a function. Very simple. The very simple example to implement the concept of the factorial. Okay, factorial. Okay, let's suppose the factorial of 3. Let's suppose I want to implement this mathematically. Then what is the way? Normally what we do, 3 into 2 factorial. If I again elaborate it, 3 into 2 into 1 factorial. Okay, so what is the meaning of this? It's calling factorial itself. Okay, it's calling factorial itself. Let's suppose the 5 factorial, what you will do? 4 into 5 factorial. Okay, if I again elaborate it, 4 into 5 into 3 factorial. Okay, if I again elaborate it, 5, 4, 3, 2 factorial. Okay, and the 2 factorial is 4 into 5 into 3 into 2 into 1 factorial. So what exactly meaning of this? So this one is calling itself. Okay, the factorial is calling itself. Again and again. The same thing whenever, let's suppose, the function call itself again and again and again. Okay, the function is calling itself again and again and again. That is called the recursive function. Okay, inside function. The same function is calling itself again and again. For example, this add is a function, and inside this function I am again calling this add. So this become the concept of the recursion. Okay, this is a very simple definition. If I show you, one very use case, the step by step implementation. So just wait for a second. Let me show you, then the picture would be more clear. I don't know where the notes are. Just wait for a second. I have notes, very good notes on the factorial as well. Okay, let it open. Okay, so these are my notes on the C language. Okay, these are my notes that is written on the C language. So let me scroll down. Here I explain the concept of the factorial in very good detail. Then the picture would be more clear to the concept of the factorial. Here. Yeah, okay. So if I elaborate this thing, a function that call itself is known as a recursive function, and also technique is known as a recursion. Okay, recursion. So here this one is the concept. Okay, so let's suppose this one is a function. Okay, this one is the definition of the function, and this one is function call. Okay, it is called the function, calling the function. And this concept, you observe carefully, the same name, whatever the name I define over here in the signatures, okay, the same name I am calling over here, that is called the recursion call. Okay, recursion call. Recursion call means, that means this function is calling itself inside its function. So this one is the function, that is the recursion, and here I call this function again, and this concept is called recursive call. Okay, technically this is called recursive call, and this concept is called the function call. Okay, the function call. Normally whatever we did add, we call the add function, but inside add, let's suppose you are again calling the add as well. So this concept is called recursion. Okay, recursive call. So here let's suppose I write a code, because the concept is the same. Whenever you are using a recursion, okay, whenever you are using a recursion, but make sure there should be a one condition who stop that recursion. Otherwise your program will go into the infinite loop. Okay, so keep this point into the mind, it is very important. Whenever you use for loop, whenever you use while loop, that all the function can be converted into the recursion. Okay, converted into the recursion, but make sure whenever you are using a recursion, there should be a one condition, okay, that should be satisfied at the time of whenever you are supposed to stop this recursion. Otherwise your recursion will keep on, and your program will become into the infinite loop. So this is the one fundamental thing, that you must satisfy the condition which will stop that recursion. Okay, so keep this point into the mind whenever you are dealing with recursion. Sometimes recursion play very important role. Okay, it reduce the complexity of the problem, but it is not sure into the every of the case that the recursion call will remove the complexity of the program. So keep this point into the mind, because whenever the concept of the complexity, we divide, we measure that complexity, the space complexity, or the the time complexity. That these two technical terms are there whenever in the context of the complexity measurement, the space complexity and the time complexity. Basically the space is not a complexity for nowadays, but yes, inside the books we are supposed to follow this space is a complexity. The space was the complexity after if I talk about 10 year backs or the 20 year backs, at that time the space is very costly. Okay, now the space is very cheap. So this point of time the space is not a complexity. The new complexity is time and the energy. Okay, energy, whatever the energy that you consume when you do the entire process. Okay, these two things are important for nowadays. Whenever you are dealing with the complexity for nowadays, these two things are very important, time and the energy, and basically the resources, how many resources that you utilize to perform the particular task. Earlier the two type of complexity was there, the space and the time, but the space is not a complexity for nowadays. Okay, so don't worry, that is not our concern. So sometime yes, recursion make your programs very easy, make your programs very light, but it is not surety for every time that your program will become you can say the optimized. No, it is not guarantee for every time. Sometime it become very difficult to understand the concept of the recursion, because recursion is little tricky concept. Your maintainability, your readability of the code is very tough, very critical. Okay, when you use the concept of the recursion, because recursion in the one shot, in the one, okay, after reading only one time, it is very difficult to understand the entire concept of the recursion. So keep this point into the mind. Okay, so let's suppose I am writing a code for the same. So I define a function. Okay, the function and this one is the calling the function. Okay, this one is my function that I call and I pass the 3, and this one is a function. Okay, this one is a function. In this function what I did, the 3 is come over here, and what I did, I define a condition when n is not equal to 0. Okay, when n is not equal to 0, what I am supposed to do, because this one is my condition, okay, base condition, when n is not equal to 0, so at that time what I am supposed to do, I am returning this n plus, again I am calling this function, that is the sum, and what I am doing, 3 minus 1. So what I am what basically I am saying, I am calling this function inside function with this. Okay, in the next iteration again it is not equal to 0, I am calling this function with this. that's mean sum of 1. So this is the concept that calling the function inside function. Okay, so here let understand it. Okay, if I elaborate this concept step by step, so here the pass the number, whatever the number that you decide at the time of calling, that number is passed over here. Okay, and this execution happens because at that time the 3 is not equals to 0, so this condition will be executed again. Now in the next scenario the number become 2. Okay, the number become 2, then what is happening? 2 minus 1. Okay, this things is happen again. It call this function because now you can check it out, the function call itself inside a function. Now this become a 0. Okay, this become a 0, and again the number become 1. Okay, number become 1. So here in the next iteration, when it becomes 0, okay, when it becomes 0, so here this number becomes 0, so it call it, now this condition is not satisfied and it is stopped down. This one is basically stopped condition. Okay, you are supposed to define a stopped condition. Basically it is mandatory, otherwise you will get the infinite loop. Keep this point into the mind. So this one is my stopped condition, stopped loop. It means that when the number is not equal to 0, okay, when the number is not equal to 0, at that time I am supposed to perform it. When the number becomes 0, that's mean immediately your else will be implemented. Okay, when else will be implemented? When the number becomes 0. And when number becomes 0, when this calling n minus 1, n minus 1, n minus 1, whatever number that you pass, let's suppose you pass 10, at the one time when it's calling again n minus 1, 10 minus 1, 9, 9 minus 1, 8, okay, 8 minus 1, 7, 7 minus 1, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1, and one time it become a 0. Okay, when 1 minus 1, it become a 0. When it become a 0, at that time your else will be implemented. Okay, at that time your else will be implemented and this loop will be breaked out. This recursion will basically break out. Otherwise, if you don't specify such kind of condition, okay, then your program will be into the infinite loop. So keep this point into the mind whenever you are dealing with the recursion. Every program wherever you use this for loop, okay, wherever you use this for loop and while loop, that can be easily converted into the recursion. You can convert that program into the recursion. So don't get more bothered about it because it is used in very rare use cases. For example, tower of Hanoi. Okay, tower of Hanoi, this problem is sorted out with the help of the recursion only, otherwise it's very difficult, and sometime it is used for the implement the concept of the probability and the combination. At that time you are supposed to use the recursion as well. Okay, so there are very few cases where you are supposed to implement this recursion, otherwise you can easily implement it with the for loop and the while loop. But yes, this is the concept. Sometime yes, it is useful, sometimes it's not 100% surety that your complexity will be reduced with the help of the recursion. Sometimes your complexity can be increased. Okay, and I already told you to measure the complexity, the space and the time. Okay, these are the two concepts. With the help of these two concepts you are supposed to measure your complexity of the program. Okay, so backing to my main concept, because this concept is into the C, okay, C and C++, the concept is same. I implement this thing into the C value, okay, C, and here I suppose there would be one or more two programs with the help of this recursion. I think, okay, Armstrong, I don't know exactly. Okay, so don't worry about it. So you don't bother if you won't understand this concept. If you are coming from the non-technical background, it's very difficult to understand this concept into the first attempt. So don't worry, just understand this thing. Sometime it's useful. You must have the idea about the this factorial, not factorial, this recursion basically, because there are very famous programs into the into the programming languages, the factorial with the recursion and the tower of Hanoi, and that your assignment that you are supposed to go on the internet. Okay, go to the internet and try out what is the tower of Hanoi and how you can solve it with the help of the Python as well. Okay, so this one your assignment with the help of the recursion. These are the two very famous problem statement of the program which are used to implement the concept of the recursion in great detail. Okay, the tower of Hanoi, a little complicated. Okay, the tower of Hanoi, the little complicated. I exactly forgot the problem statement. There are 3 disks, something like this, and you are supposed to move this 3 disks into the C, into this pole. But the condition is it always should be something like this, your biggest one, okay, your smallest one, and one of the smallest one. You are not supposed to put anywhere first small disk and then on the small disk there is a bigger disk. So this condition is not implemented in the case of the Tower of Hanoi. Okay, so I am not wasting my time over here. That's your problem statement. You are supposed to find it out, the Tower of Hanoi problem, with the help of Python. First understand what exactly the Tower of Hanoi, then you are supposed to implement with the help of Python, and definitely you will get a solution with the help of recursion, because this solution is sorted out only with the help of the recursion. If you are solve this solution with the help of the for loop, I suppose the program complexity become very high. Okay, the program complexity will become very high. Okay, so now I am showing you one very simple program, the famous program, that is the factorial. I am writing a code for the factorial of a function. Yeah, please.
Hanoi, how do you spell that?
Tower of Hanoi, sorry.
How do you spell that? Tower to ho gaya, fir Hanoi, A-N-N-O.
Hanoi, yes. Okay. Okay, so I am making this as a base condition. If n is equal to 0, then the result will become 1. Otherwise, the result is equal to n into factorial. Okay, this is the factorial call. So I am copying it exactly same. Okay, so this one n into factorial minus 1. Okay, so at the end of the day, what you are supposed to return, you are supposed to return a result. Okay, so this one, that's it. So here I am calling this function print of factorial of, okay, factorial of, let's suppose I pass 5 in the first case, then I pass 4, let's suppose. Okay, this one is the factorial for 5, this one is for 15, this one is for, let's suppose, 25. Okay, so I am implementing it, then I will come back to the logic. Okay, so here I missed the colons again. I didn't, n double equals to 0. Okay, so now you can check it out. Okay, you can check it out, the output for the same, the 5 factorial this one, the 15 factorial this one, and the 25 factorial is this one. Okay, so how exactly this code is working? So this one is my function, and this is called the function call. This one is called the function call, and here I pass in the first case, I pass here in the first case, let's suppose 5. Now what is happening? N double equals to 5, n double equals to 0, that's mean I am saying 5 double equals to 0. No, it doesn't, it is not satisfied this condition. Now where the control is moved? Control is moved over here. So inside result, what is happening? 5 into the same scenario, factorial of 5 minus 1, that is the 4. Okay, 5 minus 1, that is the 4. So here the concept is exactly same, 5 into 4 factorial. Okay, again here the 4, now 4 is not equals to 0, again the things become 5 into 4. Okay, because it's saving it into the result. So now it become the 3 factorial. Okay, the 3 factorial, again the function is called over here. Again it become in the next iteration 5 into 3 into 2 factorial. Okay, in the next iteration 5 into 3 into 2 into 1 factorial. Okay, in the next iteration now I become 0. Okay, now I become 0. When I become 0, so result become 1. Okay, the result become 1. It is assigning to the result, and then I am returning this result, which is my output, that is the 120. Okay, so always keep this here. I miss one thing, so that's your assignment, because the 0 factorial is always 1. So keep this point into the mind. You are supposed to implement this thing as well. So same thing I implemented with the help of this, because the 0 factorial is always 1. Okay, the 0 factorial is always 1. Keep this point into the mind. This is the mathematical rule. You can check it out on the YouTube. There is very beautiful video why this 0 factorial is 1, approximately 40 to 45 minutes video. I don't know the link for the same, but you can search it out on the YouTube why this 0 factorial is always 1. You will get a 40 to 45 minutes very beautiful video where everything mathematically explained into the great detail why this condition is 0 factorial is always 1. Okay, so this one is the concept for the factorial, and your assignment for the same, that you are supposed to implement the Tower of Hanoi problem. Okay, with the help of this factorial, then you will get the more clarity about the factorials. this recursion basically. Okay, so now any question before closing this session, please let me know. If you have any doubt, any question, please let me know. I understand it, because this is not understandable if you are coming from the purely non-technical background. This is not understandable into the first attempt. But yes, if you are coming from the C++ background, you heard this concept m number of time, that is the factorial. Okay, the recursion and the factorial.
सर इसमें केवल एक ही चीज समझ में नहीं आ रही थी, तो बाकी सब तो समझ में आ गया। पर जब ये जो फैक्टोरियल n-1 वाला जब लूप चलेगा, ऑब्वियसली इफ द वैल्यू इज 5, तो 5 से चलना है इसमें, n-1 होते होते इसमें 0 पे आ जाना है n पे, राइट? तो इवेंचुअली जब वो 0 पे आएगा, तो फिर वो 6 टाइम पे उसकी वैल्यू बनेगी इफ n इक्वल टू 0, और वहाँ पे बोलेगा यस।
Sir,
तो वहाँ पे रिजल्ट इक्वल टू 1 किया ना हमने।
let me explain you. Okay, so here I am passing this result. Okay, so rather than to return anything, okay, so I am calling only one time.
हाँ
Okay, so here you can understand the scenario. I print the result. Okay, I print the result 1 2 6 24 120 and finally the 120. Okay, let me close the